This is how I recreated Rust's old recoil system in my game. To make a good recoil, we have to understand what made Old Rust Recoil so good in my opinion. Now number one, you had game feeling, just making the gun feel grounded like it's actually there. Number two, you had mouse interactability. You had to worry about the recoil and not just the game playing. And then number three, it required skill that you had to spend time to learn the recoils. Alright, to start this project I made a small test area which will be expandable for all of the core mechanics. Right here where the doors are at is where my wall penetration will be going, and right behind that wall is the main wall for recoil. This is where I'll be testing all the patterns and whatnot. Now right here, this is some more wall penetration test area. We'll be testing the distance between each shot and destroying the bullet if it's too far. And here is where I'm going to be having a little shooting gallery just for some targets to shoot at. And that's the test area, man. I'm pretty happy with it. Got the scale all correct and whatnot. And yeah. So to make a basic system for shooting, we've got a bit of a coding marathon here. So here I'm just setting up all the input, and this highlighted code here, it allows me to have a gun be single fire use or full auto. And this line of code here allows players to automatically reload when they shoot with 0 bullets in the magazine. So right here I'm adding a basic spread system, that way I can have weapons like shotguns. And other than that, I'm spawning in my bullet here and still setting up my mechanic for when I shoot the gun. Now right here, in this if statement, I'm setting up a muzzle flash. Now I actually never implemented this in the final system, but it's there when I need it. Continuing with the shoot system, I'm just keeping a track of how many bullets have been shot in a row, and keeping a track of how many bullets have been shot on the mag. So I'm just setting up a basic lerp system now, that way I can lerp between my aiming position and my hipfire position. Other than that, I'm just finishing up all my reload timings. So this is the second part of the marathon, setting up a basic bullet system. Now this for loop right here is calculating the basic trajectory for the bullets, things like speed and gravity. It's also, inside of it, is going to be calculating all my raycast detections. So this for loop here is making the raycast always go to the most recent hit. That way we can add things like bullet holes here to every new hit on a wall or an object. So this system right here is what's going to be calculating my bullet damage drop off. Now I'm not really using this right now since I don't have any systems in place, but I'm using a thing called a map range. Now what this is going to do is it's going to adjust the bullet damage according to how long it's traveled. So once it's traveled a max distance, my damage will be 0, making the bullet get destroyed. So here's my gun system. You know, it's not anything special. It's like any other gun system there is out there. You can aim, you can reload, and you can shoot. Now in this clip I am moving my mouse as I shoot, that way you can't see me absolutely beam in one location. to explain how I'm going to add my wall penetration, I decided to go and paint. So we're going to be starting bottom left, where our player is going to be shooting that box. Now the little red arrow going from the player to the box is our bullet trajectory. That will be the path the bullet takes every single time. Now our bullet is the green thing in the middle, and it has an arrow pointing right. That arrow is always facing right, and it will always find objects that it hits in that direction. Now our orange arrow is our raycast B, which will always be ahead a little bit and pointing in the opposite direction to get the opposite facing wall. Now we can then get the distance by calculating the distance between the raycast A and raycast B, and then we just go from there on what we want to do. Going back into the bullet script, I'm making another detection system that's detecting ahead and behind us. Other than that, I'm giving my bullet a random chance to survive going through a wall. The highlight code right here is going to be calculating the distance between the two hits, and the red code here is going to be changed later on. And this highlighted code is doing damage to our damage. That way, when going through a wall, your damage is a bit less. Right, so we've got something a little bit more interesting to show than our gun system. So our door on the left is surviving 100% of the time, middle 50%, and our right is 0%. Now I'm going to be shooting all 30 rounds into the wall while moving my mouse in question mark, 3, whatever you want to see. Now as you can see, all the bullets made it through. When I shoot the second time, you'll notice when I go look at the wall, there's going to be some bullet holes missing. And on this one, like I said, 0 of it's going to be showing, so none of it's going to show. Now I've got a bit of a different angle to show to make sure that you guys see the bullets, making it through. Every time you see a red spot, you know that bullet has made it. Now here we've got 2 little setups here. On the left side it's a value of 1, and the right it's a value of 0.5. Now when I shoot into the value of 1, it can't make the distance, so it won't go through. And if you shoot on the right side, it can make the distance, so it will go through. Now interesting with this one, and not the doors, if you shoot on the corner, the distance can be made, so the bullet will go through. To add purely just a recoil pattern, it's not that hard. All you have to keep track of is how many bullets have been shot in a row, and then you have to evaluate the pattern which you have set in the Unity inspector, and that's that. So since we've got a recoil pattern working, I decided to start working on random recoil. Now the red highlighted code here means that I ultimately get rid of it, and the blue one here means I put it somewhere else. I ended up putting it where we evaluate the pattern. Now these highlighted codes is exactly the same, just for a different direction. I will say one thing, I do implement my recoil a little unusually. I add it to my mouse look script, and right here is this where we get the random values for the recoil. So in this video, there's quite a bit to unpack because I did add quite a bit. The first thing I added was something called camera stacking, which is right there. Now if you notice, when I go up to the wall, my gun doesn't clip through the wall, which is a very good sign, and it's something that you don't want happening in your game. Now the second thing is my recoil. I'm extremely proud of this, and I think it's what the new recoil for Rust should have been like. Now when I shoot, every time the pattern is the same. It kind of goes in the same direction, like the same S as the AK. But then it's also quite a bit random as well, so you're not gonna know if it's a little bit high, a little bit to the right or left. I think it's just real great. Now when I aim here and shoot, there is sometimes where it looks like the pattern is pretty much exactly the same. So I had to double check, make sure, and I've done this on the left side, but I assure you that it's all random. It's all gonna be a different pattern each time. So at the moment, we've still got one problem with our recoil, which is it doesn't feel grounded when you shoot it. It doesn't feel like it's there. To solve this problem, I decided to add some random kickback on the Z axis and a bit of randomness on the X rotation. To add to the game feeling, I decided to add some sway and bob. Now I have no clue on how to implement this, so I decided to watch a YouTube tutorial, so go check that out if you want to know more about the system. Other than that, this guy has some really great content about FPS code in general, so go check him out. To get sway and bob working in my system, I did have to change a few things. I also had to add a few things like my random kickback recoil and my random X rotation that was mentioned at the start of this video. Now those both had to get reset to 0 and they had to smoothly get added. So that's what the code here is doing. So this right here is my broken system. I eventually get this working for a little target game. And that's pretty much it. Now here is where I added all my Z recoil, my bobbing as you can see, my sway, and that's all looking really good. They all have different values for aiming, so it's not as harsh, but in my opinion looks really good, and thank you again for that tutorial. Rightio, here we go. This is everything I've worked on, all compiled into one clip. You know, you have all my wall penetration, my recoil, my game feeling, my sway and bob, all that kind of stuff. It's all added in this one little section. I've also added my little mini game. I'm planning on working on this for next month's progress. I'll be adding a bit of health to these systems, that way you have to control the recoil. We'll also add a money system to then add a shop system for different types of guns. So right here I'm testing out the wall penetration, but the major thing I wanted to point out is me controlling the recoil. So that's what it kind of looks like when you try and control it, and that's when it's not aiming as well. So I mentioned this in the clip before of wall penetration. If you shoot number value 1 wall penetration right there in the corner, the bullets do make it. Now I'll be showing you that in a minute. But if you guys did make it to the end of the video, I appreciate that. And if you want to help out the game or help me out, just go check out my other social media accounts, man.